Next one is from David Bentz. Subject is music question. Dear K100 crew, want to ask Conan which of the numerous songs of WCW and TNA did he enjoy working on the most? Filthy, dirty, nasty, that's the way we like it. Just wanted to mention the line for a filthy throwback. Also, Disco, a few episodes back you claimed Conan's scarecrow joke wasn't funny. Oh, that's your opinion. I just wanted you to be aware that was a regular one-liner Conan used when he managed Santana and Ortiz. Probably been saying it before then, too. It's actually more influential in my opinion. Be outstanding in your field. Anyways, have a great day, and that's David from Sacramento. Dude, you don't need to explain the joke on us. You know, let's suspend this guy David Bentz for very condescending email here, but like especially towards me.
You're coming fast and furious.
Be a little bit more respectful. What music did you enjoy the most, Conan?
All the songs that we did in WCW, I thought were pretty good, except the ones when we would built the animals. They were all bangers. They were all really good. Yeah, all of them.
Next one's Sean Burgess, and the subject is why not use Craven Cottage? Hello, gents. Hope you're all well. After I saw AEW announce they'd booked Wembley Stadium, I almost spat out my tea. It's very hard to sell Wembley out for non-football events. Only really Anthony Joshua, Carl Frock, and some musical acts have done it easily. AEW isn't in that league. Tony Khan owns Fulham. Why didn't you just book the AEW event at Craven Cottage, Fulham's home stadium? Has a football capacity of 26,000, so you could probably get 30,000 there, including pitch seats. Surely there would have been a better starting point, both capacity-wise and commercially. And I'm sure he did his due diligence on how many tickets they could sell. But if that stadium doesn't sell at least 60,000, it'll be empty in there for the event. That'll make Tony Khan and AEW look very silly. It's a huge risk. Do you think Marks from the USA will fly over for it? That might be their only hope. And that's Sean from the UK. Sean, I think you're grossly miscalculating how many people they're going to do here. And number two, I think they're going to do 50 or 60,000. That people, bro, there is definitely the wrestling fans today, since the numbers are low, like the fans that are watching are kind of like a cult following. They'll go and support stuff like this. Like this is a big show, and like I think they could fit 50, 60,000 and probably cut the state, cut it off at the point where it doesn't look empty, like there's a lot of empty seats, but I think they could. I wouldn't be surprised if they did 90,000. I would absolutely not be, bro. I think because these wrestling fans are very they're this type of wrestling fan, because there's no weekly tours anymore. There's no it's just weekly TV. There's a spot show here and there for AEW and like a pay-per-view here and there. Bro, they're going over to a market which would support it like it does over here. So 100%, I guarantee you they have a lot of people come to this. Especially it's the first time they've ever come. And I would not be surprised if they did like 90,000 people. If we hear like it sold 60 and 65, bro, even more people might come because they'll think it's a really big event happening.
They've already sold 60,000 tickets?
No, they haven't sold any yet. They've had they haven't put anything on sale yet. Is my understanding. Look that up, Joe.
They haven't even put up a card, right? Or have they?
No, nothing. Yeah. No. But
there's an interesting email coming up about a talent they could potentially use. I'm interested to hear what you guys say about that. But I would say the reason Tony went with Wembley is because of the prestige factor. Everybody remembers that WWE ran Wembley in '92 and had this enormous crowd and everything. But I think what people aren't considering is that England has a really hot base of wrestling fans. Remember how hot Impact crowds were back in the day? And
I just said that, Joe.
When Impact wasn't that hot. It wasn't that hot in the States.
Conan, is Joe repeating things that we're saying? Yeah. Is he just repeating things that we're saying?
Exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, next is from Long Grand Wang. Somebody says burn money.
Are you not listening to the show, Joe?
No, I'm listening. Maybe I'm not firing.
You didn't get that name, Long Grande Wang? Long Grande Wang.
Yeah, big.
Yeah, Tony Khan recently stated the AEW Fight for Every game is done and waiting a release date. Then the boss of the company had to make a statement saying that not only is a release date not coming soon, he almost stated that the game is far from being finished. Bear in mind that during the production of this one game, WWE has released 4 massively successful games and generated hundreds of millions of dollars from them. With this type of really bad business going on, do you think there's a possibility that some of the wrestlers are taking Tony Khan for a ride and trying to get whatever cash they can from him? This game is going to suck. By the way, Conan, we need more of your dogs on the video mailbag segments. They're draws, and it's funny seeing you shake your head at them.
Yeah.
Conan, why don't you start selling T-shirts of your dogs? I mean,
because I'm not a J-Bro like somebody else on the show.
All right, let me tell you. I don't care about the video. I don't play video games, so this question to me is like, it
I
has
think it
taken
would
forever.
I
you
think
know?
it would be dumb to try to Tony when you can make so much money on royalties, especially if there's a second game. So if you're trying to come out, you're kind of yourself. That would
Well,
be
didn't he put the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and had them part of the people that were in the game design?
Kenny for sure, yeah.
Well, why? Well, has he had experience in game design before?
Well, I don't think he's probably just an idea man for it. What they did was to delve deep into the gamer nerd type thing. When you have a game like Madden's building off a previous game engine. You know, that's why they come out every year. This AEW Fight Forever game created its own engine, right? And they use different parts from different wrestling games that were popular in the past. They're trying to use things that people enjoy, and I think it's going to be a good game due to that. You know, because you have.
Do you still play wrestling video games, Joe?
No, but I've been.
Who would play this game?
wrestling fans.
All their fans.
But how many? But what age group would play a wrestling game?
Wrestling fans.
Teenagers to.
No, but it's like a 50. Is somebody my age going to play 52-6-year-old wrestling fan going to play the wrestling game? I don't know.
Well, I know a lot of guys that are
I'd like to know that
were playing wrestling.
Joe, go look up on ChatGPT or Google or something,
right?
And try and find out the percentage, like by age group, who plays wrestling video games by age group, like percentage wise. So let's see if you can find that information up while we're doing the mailbag here.
And by the way,
because I like to go ahead, Conan. You going to say
Wembley goes on sale May 5th, just to.
Oh, so 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. All right. Okay, next from Hank Beanie, and the subject is Bob Costas. Hey guys, during the 98 NBA Finals, there's a play where Dennis Rodman pushed Karl Malone to the floor. The play triggered announcer Bob Costas to take some pretty harsh shots at WCW professional wrestling as a whole. What do you think of Costas' comments? Do you remember if any of the boys wanted to stossel him after these derogatory remarks? Do you have play that real quick, Joe? Because this was on the Last Dance.
Yes, because they were kind of wrestling around and
right. They're running an angle for WCW.
Presence out there. Just look at the honoring. 4 seconds to shoot. Jordan missed it just before the shot clock sounds. Rodman battling like crazy, but can't quite hold on to it. Corner set. He and Malone, Rodman and Malone, and Rodman just trips Malone up. They got to call a flagrant here. They've got to call a flagrant. It's the third on Rodman. He and Karl Malone, regrettably, are scheduled to wrestle in one of those bogus events next month. Why Malone lent himself to that is anyone's guess. And Rodman apparently wants to start the wrestling now.
I tell you what, I love what I'm seeing, the battle between these two guys. They're fighting, giving it everything they got. Both of them are trying to push and shove and gain position. Karl Malone gives him a little knock. But at the end of the play, what I like the most is Malone and Rodman both gave each other a pat on the butt and said, hey, that's the way we play. That's the way we like to play.
WCW got incredible free advertising there. You know, they literally did an angle on the court for their match that was coming up on WCW. It was perfect. What did you think, Conan?
Yeah, I don't remember anybody being mad. I mean, and that's how they played. That's exactly how Malone and Rodman played, and that's that's how basketball was back then.
And that was hypocritical of Costas, who had worked for WWE prior to that. And I think actually worked with him again, at least in the last 5-10 years. I've seen him on some highlights packages and stuff. So I don't know why he took that shot.
All right, so the next one, Joe, how long is this Cornette clip? The subject is Cornette and Dominic. Hey, K100, especially, this is from Kurt Down.
Minute 48.
Hey, K100, especially Conan, I was wondering what you think about Jim Cornette's recent comments he made about Dominic Mysterio. Why don't you go ahead and play it? Mm-hmm. For any loser, Jim Cornette marks get ready to get their pitchforks out. Jim Cornette isn't trashing Dom. He does have an interesting take on the recent Dom versus MJF debate that has been going around. Then he says, please never bring Billy back. Okay.
Next question from the Cult of Cornette Facebook group is from Jesus Salas Rodriguez. Will Dominic?
I know him. He's a good customer of Cornette's Collectibles.
Will Dominic Mysterio surpass MJF as the best heel in the business before 2023 ends?
No. And that's not an aside or a slight to Dominic, but MJF is even if he's the big fish in a small pond, he's the world champion of the primary opposition promotion. He's being featured as the top guy in that atmosphere. Even though Dominic has done a world of good with this gimmick he's got, MJF is still, where you talk about new wrestlers, old wrestlers, veteran wrestlers, whatever. He's, if not the best, one of the 2 or 3 best verbalists in the business. And his matches, Dominic is great at the style that he's been trained, and he's hanging in there and he's pulling his weight. We haven't seen that he can put together top main event world title style matches, even with an opponent besides his father, and MJF has with Punk and with Danielson, and the matches that he's had on his own where he was the leader and the veteran with Darby and a blah, blah, blah. So, no, I'm not saying it might not ever happen, but right now I think MJF is firmly in the lead as far as getting the most out of their talents, and is probably going to be for the next year until that bidding war.
What did you think of those comments, Conan?
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything he said.
Yeah, I think nobody would disagree that MJF is a better performer, okay, than Dominic, because he's obviously more seasoned and stuff. However, you could argue who has more heat right now from the fans, and it's Dominic. So it's like, he's like, MJF is the better. Like, the question is who's the better. The debate has been who is the better heel, not who is the better performer. Like, if I'm sure, I am positive that MJF would love to be getting the type of heat that Dom's getting right now. I mean, seriously, bro, if you're a heel, you want Dominic Mysterio heat.
Right.
Would that be a perfect way to describe it, Conan, these days?
Yeah, well, I think that the problem with I've seen him get really, really, really good heat, but he also does a lot of that makes you kind of like him. And Dominic doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't do entertaining. He does.
Right.
Like that whole, which I was
sing
not a
and
fan
dance
of.
And stuff.
I was not a fan of that. Right.
Right. Yeah. He does too many. He does. MJF does too many things to pop the crowd, like in the middle of his performances. You know what I'm saying? So right. So all right. Next is some Travis Bain. This is up to his question for Conan. MLW Radio departure. I'm a long-time listener to you guys, but never heard about your departure from MLW Radio. I did my due diligence and searched YouTube for existing clips, but did not see any covering this. I loved that platform back in the days. It was the birthplace of both Conan and Cornette's podcasts, among others. Miss Inferno was also a freaking guest on those episodes. Glenn, you mad? I'm mad. What led to your departure? Was there any heat between you and Kurt Backgammon Boy? Backgammon Boy. Any information, funny memories of those OG podcast days would be appreciated. Best wishes to you and yours. That's Scumbag Trav from Charleston, West Virginia, where the men are men and the sheep are scared.
Oh, so you even used one of my lines. Wait a minute. Well, here's the thing with Court. So Don Callis, who I didn't know him that well back then, was a good friend of Jericho's. And Jericho had...
By the way, just real quick sidebar. Did you see about update on Don Callis' injuries?
Yeah, that he hit a lighting stand. No wonder.
So when he took the so deep, and he messed his teeth up too.
Really?
Yes, I read somewhere he messed his teeth. His teeth got messed up too.
Yeah.
What a hell of a deal.
Yeah, and poor guy. But anyways, speedy recovery, Lord Cyrus. So where was I? Oh, so I had done an interview with Jericho when he was in his car for MLW. He was riding from one town to another. Right. So when he started his podcast, because really the only podcast around was MLW and Colt Cabana. We were like the first ones. And then from there, other ones came out. So Jericho did his podcast. I went on it. And it was really good fun. Just two guys busting two old friends, and Callis heard it and he said, "Hey, now that you're gonna get your new podcast deal, you need to get Conan." So he called me and he told me how much money was involved. Plus, and this is just for like the old school MLW, and there's a lot of them, MLW listeners that now listen to this show. So that's a long time ago. I was kind of hot because our show was really hot, and he was sharing our money with other shows in his orbit
Network.
there. Yeah, in his
Network.
network that were not doing as good as us, and I was not down with that. So I was already kind of pissed. And so when he said, "Hey, you want to do a show?" Out of courtesy and out of respect, I said, "Hey, Court, do you want to come with MSL?" And he said, "No, we'll stay here." And so then I called Disco.
Right.
You know,
Next
without MLW radio, Conan, I never would have got into podcasting. So got to give you credit for that one. A big thank you. Now that thanks to
It's your
MLW
fault,
radio,
Conan.
I'm in this
Sure.
universe. You know,
It's
He
your
doesn't
fault.
even do a show anymore. So what are you thanking me for?
No,
For a
well,
show
I-
that's non-existent?
It's your fault, Conan. is what
I've
he's
put
saying.
all my eggs in the K100 basket.
Next is from
Which you-
Anthony.
We're just a
which
little
you
bit
always
funnier and
advise
more
me to do.
entertainer than you. Yeah.
This is a lame email coming up. Is Anthony Hunt, has he been in the emails before?
Yeah, Philly guy. Yeah.
Okay, his grammar is atrocious here because he does run on sentences. It's,
Yes. he
subject
does.
is Moxley versus Reigns. K100. Big fan now. I get that Reigns. Okay, and I'm reading it like it's written. Okay.
Mhm.
Big fan now. I get that Reigns is on a roll, but Moxley's quite successful too in WWE. 355 days as U.S. champ. Record has never been broken. Also, Jay White in 7 years has accomplished more. Thing is, you praise Reigns like he's God Almighty. That's fine, but is he great if he depends on the Usos to save his title? WWE just doesn't appeal to my question. Doesn't appeal to me. My question is, why can't you give Moxley, Okada, and Jay White the respect you give Reigns? He's great, but not great like The Rock or Austin. Just because I don't feel he's the best doesn't mean I'm stupid. I just find AEW or New Japan more appealing. Also, you can catch New Japan every Thursday on Roku. Sincerely, Anthony Hunt. Do you want to answer this first, Conan? Why don't we give Moxley, Okada, and Jay White the respect that we give Reigns?
Well, I don't really know much about. I don't really watch Okada, so I don't know what he's doing or Jay White. But I used to love, All Japan and New Japan back in the '90s. If you want, I'm not gonna go to Roku to watch a whole New Japan show. See, that's the problem. There's so much wrestling. You got to decide what you're gonna watch, and New Japan, that's something I really watch, and mostly because none of the Japanese wrestlers are kind of over in Mexico, so there's nobody really to bring in. But if you want to send us clips of the best of the month or something like that, so we can keep up to date, be my guest. I don't know enough about Okada or Jay White to put them over as much as you're putting, but you sound like a mark, by the way, when you say, oh, you need the Usos, bro. That's an instrument to generate heat. Okay, I mean that's. But Roman's been great at what he's done. This is one of the best, if not the best, storyline the last 20 years in this business. It's been layered. It's been well done. It's still going. And, bro, you can write a great script, but you got to find the correct character to execute it. And they found the correct ones. I mean, they've done a great job. There's a reason we put them over. I don't know enough about Okada, and I don't think Moxley is doing what Roman Reigns is doing. And so to me, Roman is the man right now.
Let's just be honest, okay? Roman's vignettes and in-ring segments have been better than any of those guys' matches or anything that they've done. Period. I mean, I'm sorry, this is the way it is. And that's why Roman is over, because he's a great actor. And like everything, he's nailed every single thing he's done.
Unless to you, if matches are more important than promos and vignettes. But what he's done in the last 2 years has been masterful. All of them, from him to Paulie to the Usos to Sammy to
The facial expressions, everything they've done has been perfect.